All right, folks. So on Friday, an incident took place at one of the ICE facilities in Illinois. No, not in Chicago, but rioters, protesters, people who were upset with ICE being in Illinois or either that doing raids in Chicago were protesting in front of a facility. Now, I'm going to play this image. I want to make it very clear to YouTube that this is a current news event that is taking place, and there is now a fallout, a huge fallout, to which I have to say, I'm not going to say that the National Guard coming back to Illinois is back on the table, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Trump talking about it, and I will get to it very soon. So let's go and play this video.
You are a fucking Nazi, you bitch! You are a fucking Nazi! How do you fucking freak? You people got murder bunkers and fucking fucking pricks. Nazi fucking Gestapo pricks. You are Nazi! You are Nazi! You small, big fucking motherfucking Nazi pricks!
Fuck you!
Sorry.
Fuck you!
Where are your red shoelaces, you fucking Nazis?
2 weeks ago, you were security at Ross. Fuck you.
This is America, you
Yeah, guys, great job.
So that's what took place. And in that, there were a couple other incidents that took place as well. But the reason why I'm playing it is because during Charlie Kirk's, funeral, President Trump stated this. Now, here's something I did not know. I didn't know that Charlie Kirk was a Cubs fan. I also did not know he was one of our Chicago boys. But here's what happened.
And one of the last things he said to me is, please, sir, save Chicago. We're going to do that. We're going to save Chicago from horrible crime. And one of the last...
I'm going to play this video again one more time, all right? Because if I'm sounding like a broken record, it's because I want everyone across the political spectrum, left, right, boomers, Xers, millennials, Gen Z, no matter the color of your skin and who you worship, to hear my words after this video.
Last things he said to me is, please, sir, save Chicago. We're going to do that. We're going to save Chicago from horrible crime.
Okay. I'll make this very clear here. Yes, there are problems in Chicago. Yes, there is crime in Chicago. All right. I have dealt with it firsthand, and I've known people who've dealt with violent crime as well. All right. It is not a fun thing to go through. It is a terrible thing to go through, especially being uncertain or being afraid or trying to protect your family. I know that all too well. All right. And there is a crime problem in Chicago. Seriously, there is. That's right. Heartlands Media saying that right off the bat. There are problems in Chicago. But you will not solve the criminality and corruption if you're only going to the street corners. Unless I see people go to City Hall and arresting these politicians, I don't want to hear a single thing about saving Chicago. Because the goddamn problem to Chicago is in City Hall. All right? That's the beating heart of it. I don't want to hear any debate about it. There needs to be a full-on imperial inquisition into every single aspect of Chicago politics in City Hall. There's criminality, there's corruption, there's abuse of power, there's negligence, there's malice, there's evil there. It's not just the street corners. I mean, you got to look at the main root, the beating heart, okay? It's sort of like dealing with a vine that's growing on your house. It's not good. It might look pretty on the house. Nothing like having some good ivy growing on the house. But here's the thing. Ivy growing on the house is bad for the bricks, bad for the mortar, bad for the foundation. It's really bad. It's bad. It's not good. You know? And I like to do yard work. A little known Wikipedia fact about Kip Cabello. He likes to garden. I love to grow my tomatoes. But I also have to pull out weeds. I have to deal with vines on the house, everything else. And the thing is, you got to chop the root off when you're dealing with a parasitic weed or a vine. You got to cut it. And you got to go for where it's at. It's at the heart. It's at the root. City Hall, City Hall, City Hall. So all this talk, especially Trump speaking at Charlie Kirk's funeral, okay, save the city. You're going to bring the legal paperwork necessary to investigate every single politician and the past 30, 40 years of Chicago corruption? You're going to look into that? Because otherwise, I don't give a damn how many ICE agents or FBI agents or National Guard or reserves you put on the streets of Chicago. You ignore City Hall, you leave, the cancer comes back. Simple. It's not a polite suggestion. It's an actual fact. Because then you also have stuff like this taking place too. In the Home Depots that I visited to, I mean, holy cow. A lot of the migrant workers aren't there, but you're seeing stuff like this also happen.
Homeowner left with an unfinished roof and in disbelief after neighbors told his family they believe ICE agents came to his house and detained crew members working on his home.
And they said all the workers were rounded up and just taken away indiscriminately. There was no checking. There was no due diligence in this.
Bobby Fisher and his family were out celebrating his daughter's birthday when neighbors alerted him to what they called police activity around his home.
Got frantic texts from my neighbors saying, "Hey, are you guys okay? There's a police presence all over your house."
Neighbors telling Bobby masked agents who they believed to be ICE arrived at his Naperville home around noon and targeted the crew working on his roof. He says 5 of the 6 crew members jumped down and ran. Bobby says one of his neighbors told him one of them injured his leg before he was detained. But what shocked Bobby the most was how agents allegedly detained another crew member who ran out of fear.
My neighbors witnessed 2 agents chasing one guy down the street in a residential area, guns drawn. A roofer running for his life.
This photo, Bobby says, was captured of that roofer after he was detained at gunpoint. Bobby later learned from the owner of the company that all 5 of the detained workers were documented.
This is just people trying to make a living, and you're harming us, like the homeowners. Like, this isn't a business. This isn't, you raided a factory. This is a home that you surrounded with guns. I have children. I don't want that here. There was no reason for it to be here.
We reached out to ICE as well as Naperville police, but have not yet received a reply.
Now there's something else that took place, because here's how I know things are going to intensify in Chicago and in Illinois. So when I have told Jimmy Dore, shout out to Jimmy Dore, and Larry Sharp, and Michael Vass, and a few others, that, hey, guys, guess what? Heads up. The National Guard option could still happen, all right? Because there is an incident that has taken place here. And while I will disagree with, everyone across the political spectrum, I found this to be very, very painful to watch. So this is Kat Abgazala, who was thrown to the ground. Now, she is, she's running for Congress. And on Friday, she was one of the many people that was tear gas, pepper sprayed, and then also thrown to the ground. This is a difficult video to watch and look at, but I think it's imperative that we do see this. All right, now look. I think that's a little bit of excessive force, but okay. When I served in the Marine Corps, we did have to do drills and site security. My first tour was in Baghdad. We had to guard the U.S. Embassy, all right? And I would say this. As far as I can remember from my training, unless I'm getting senile and I'm forgetting everything, no one person ever broke formation just to push somebody away and throw them to the ground. Always stay in formation. Never do that. Once you're able to push people away, let's say from a riot or whatever's taking place during our training, never had to get to the point of such excessive force. And no one should.
ICE! Shame on you! Let him down! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Why do you want
to? Okay. Now, obviously, things are not going to be calming down anytime soon. And with a video like that going viral, I'm pretty sure Kat will be standing up and speaking out more about this. Even Evanston Mayor Daniel Biss, who is another candidate, I believe, who's running in the 9th District as well, as a congressional candidate, as well as a few other Democrat lawmakers, will be speaking out and talking about this more. And that means further antagonization with Trump and his administration to bring in more ICE agents and more FBI and more, I don't know, other federal groups and maybe the National Guard into the streets of Chicago. I've been telling people for a long time that Chicago is going to be a battleground city. It's going to be a frontline city in regards to the future of American politics. Knowing full well that Mayor Brandon Johnson is in a precarious spot for the future of the city's finances, as taxes and property taxes are being brought up, and also, again, lack of real accountability from his administration, it's very clear that this is a perfect powder keg that's ready to blow up. It's like somebody put all the fertilizer, fireworks, gasoline, and anything else that can explode, letting it all pile up, and some lazy bastard lighting a match, throwing it into the warehouse, and then it goes kaboom. That's my prediction. Chicago will be a hotbed of political and social disruption. I hate to say it, violence, and more confrontation. What we are seeing here is only the beginning. And there's going to be more intense and emotional conflicts between the people here in Chicago, because a lot of groups are going to be called out. And what do I mean by this? Well, a lot of these activist groups and organizations, perhaps unaware of just how 2024 would play out, for a long time were comfortable at least having their way. And what I mean by this is that, whenever we have asked them, like, hey, can Chicago survive as a sanctuary city? we were dismissed with that answer, or we were told that, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Well, turns out now the city is financially in the straps. And the thing is now ICE is running around Chicago with impunity because the Chicago Police Department and this Chicago Police Department superintendent made it clear that they are not going to interrupt or stop ICE proceedings or ICE investigations. So already these groups are going to be called out of, okay, well, how are you going to step up? How are you going to help? How are you going to do this? Because now it's time to get off your lazy butts and actually show some initiative, not that crap protest that we saw on Labor Day. And be clear again, I'm going to say it again. The Labor Day protests in Chicago left much to be desired. I mean, you could talk about shutting things down, but until your leadership actually takes charge and organizes people to shut down everything, all it is talking. All it is talking. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but after a while, once you've seen it all, it's like every single protest you've gone to is like going to a strip club. You've seen it once. All the talking, no action. But I want to pull up another video here.
And allow them to roam free on American streets. Daniel Biss is out front now. He is the mayor of Evanston, Illinois, a suburb, obviously, right outside Chicago, home to 10,000 international students at Northwestern University, among others. So, Mayor, I appreciate your time. I know you've just warned your entire city publicly that ICE operations are imminent. And I should also state that you are running for Congress as a Democrat, as you and I sit here speaking. But Mayor, you say this is imminent. So what else do you know? Or are you also basically in the dark? I mean, what do you know about what's about to happen over the next few hours and days?
Well, first of all, I am absolutely in the dark. The Trump administration wants to keep.
Exactly. Baba Yaga Forest Dweller. I'm glad that you're repeating what I'm saying. Thank you. All right. Go to City Hall. That's where you need to go. The problems in Chicago is in City Hall. You want to deal with the corruption? It's in City Hall. Chicago has a long, sad history of corruption. It's not the workers. It's not a migrant person that's putting, and fixing the foundation or fixing the roof. It's listen, there are criminals. Yes. All right. I'm not going to argue with anyone on the right that there are criminals in Chicago. Yes, there are bad gang members. There are cartels and everything else in between. Yes, they exist. There's corrupt politicians. There's corrupt police. Okay, I get it. But you want to deal with the problem, you got to go to City Hall. Trump talking about saving Chicago, I don't believe it for 1 minute unless I start seeing action happen at City Hall. Otherwise, it's all talk. It's all talk. It's all talk. And if you're pro what you're seeing happening at these ICE facilities, okay, fine. Can't stop you with that. But if you want to save the city, you deal with the real root issue. And same thing goes for these Democrat lawmakers that are protesting against ICE and how it's detaining people. You really want to fix the problem. You got to fix the problems in Illinois. It's an internal issue. It's an internal issue that no one has had the courage to deal with for quite some time because of the legacy of the Democrat machine.
Keep us guessing, wants to use our uncertainty to keep us afraid. But the reason that we communicated with our residents this morning is that I got information from a senior state official last night indicating that they had good intel, that they thought it was likely that ICE would be coming to Evanston today and in the coming days. And we just felt that we had a responsibility to let our residents know so they could work to protect themselves. We've been doing everything we can to protect our residents from before Donald Trump took office, passing strong sanctuary laws to make sure our police are not cooperating with federal civil immigration enforcement, protecting our data, switching off our license plate cameras when we learned that that data was being shared. But we also need to make sure our residents know as much as possible so they can take the steps they need to protect themselves.
So, Mayor, the DHS announcement comes on the same day that the Supreme Court it was a stunning decision, okay? They have given President Trump a green light for ICE to continue its roving patrols, right? And to pull people aside, any reason they want to. Is there anything your residents can do if this is what ICE starts doing now that there's been this ruling?
Well, we need to be really clear about what we can and cannot do. And we want people to be aware of the risks so that they can make appropriate calculations. It's part of why we communicate the way they do. And I know that there are people staying home. I know there are people keeping their children at home from school. There are businesses unsure about whether or not they should operate, and they're making their own calculated decisions. But we have to do everything we can. And so we're doing that both as a city and frankly as individuals. I got trained in rapid response. So now when ICE comes to town, I get a text. I'm able to go immediately to the location, share rights that individuals have with them, inform them of their rights, videotape, bear witness, hold ICE officials accountable. We all need to do what we can in this moment. We're only going to be successful in protecting our communities from these attacks.
Now, I've interviewed Daniel Biss in the past, especially when he was running for governor of Illinois in 2018. I know, little known Wikipedia fact here. You know, hey, Hard Lens Media, we've been around. We've been around for quite some time. So hashtag help Hard Lens Media in all of our fights and wars to come, because we're not going anywhere. We're being forged in fire, and we will come out stronger. But this is a typical word salad that I've heard before. You know, I mean, there was all this talk about building Chicago up as a sanctuary city. There was all this talk about, you know, ensuring that everything would be fine. Nothing was ever fine. This is all performative art. And I think one of my viewers said it best, and I want to make sure I get their exact quote down here, okay? But shout out to New Jersey native who says the Trump administration is just trying to terrorize Chicago for the base, red meat for the base, red meat for MAGA chuds, red meat for the Fox News clips. And Jenny Lynn says, can't ask corrupt people to solve corruption. Exactly. So whenever you hear, and hold on, I want to read another person. Peaceful protests achieve nothing when you're up against a fascist state. Exactly, and what else? Let's see. What else we got here? Is there any oversight in ICE enforcement officers, or are they able to act with total impunity? At least here in Illinois, and when it comes down to operations in Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson talked a big game. ICE isn't being stopped. And number two, the Chicago police superintendent made it clear that they're not going to stop in any ICE investigations or proceedings. So the answer is probably no. If there is oversight, it's not going to be done with any Chicago political office. Maybe activists and organizers getting out their cameras, and that's it. That's it. So now that's what's really going to happen here. So as a final note, you have Democrat politicians confronting ICE. You have videos going viral on social media, protesters getting tear gassed, and Trump claiming that Charlie Kirk's last words to him were, "Please, sir, save Chicago," and now vows to do so. There is no saving Chicago unless you deal with the root cause. There is no saving Chicago unless you are prepared to deal with the necessary steps to end the political corruption and destroy what remains of the machine. I don't want to hear anything else about that. You want to save the city? You're going to have to step up. Step up in a way in which you need to show real leadership. So there you go. Can Chicago be saved? Possibly. Will there be a war for Chicago? Oh, yes. And I'm a little bit on edge right now because I say things getting heated up. This isn't over. It's only the beginning.